Before the world stirred, before the first crow split the silence, I woke to the old tremor again. That ancient war in the marrow, the one no blade can touch. The flesh rose like a mutinous kingdom, whispering its soft treasons, promising ease, offering the counterfeit peace that always ends in chains. I felt it before I opened my eyes, the heaviness, the pull, the subtle gravity of the old self trying to resurrect itself from the grave I buried it in. I lay still, listening to the quiet. The spirit was there too, not loud, not forceful, but steady as covenant stone. A presence that does not shout, yet shakes the foundations of a soul. And in that stillness, I heard the first volley of the day. Choose whom you will serve. The war of the flesh never announces itself with trumpets. It comes like a thief, like a shadow, like a memory you thought you outgrew. It comes wearing your voice, your fears, your hungers. It comes as the echo of who you used to be. I rose from the bed like a soldier rising from a battlefield he never truly left. My bones ached with the weight of yesterday's failures. My heart carried the smoke of battles I barely survived, but I stood anyway, because standing is the first act of defiance against the flesh. As I walked through the dim corridor of my home, I felt the old craving stir, not for food, not for pleasure, but for the easy path, the path of least resistance, the path that leads back to the pit. The flesh always wants the shortcut, the spirit always calls you to the mountain. I stepped outside, dawn was only a rumor on the horizon. The air was cold enough to sting, sharp enough to remind me I was alive, and in that breath I felt the spirit whisper again. Walk. So I walked down the crack road, past the sleeping houses, past the street lamps flickering like tired sentinels. Every step felt like a sermon, every breath felt like a confession. The war was not around me, it was within me, a clash of kingdoms in the chambers of my chest. The flesh rose again, louder this time. You're tired, you're broken, you're unworthy, turn back. But the spirit answered with a thunder that did not come from the sky. My strength is made perfect in your weakness. I kept walking. The road bent toward the old riverbank, the place where I used to hide from myself, the place where I once drowned my guilt and distractions, where I tried to silence conviction with noise. The river was still dark, still slow, still carrying secrets in its current. And as I stood there, the memories rose like ghosts. I saw the version of myself I used to be, the one who bowed to every impulse, who mistook desire for destiny, who let the flesh write the script of his life. I saw the nights I fell, the mornings I lied to myself, the days I pretended I was fine while my soul was bleeding behind my ribs. The war of the flesh is tragic because it is intimate. It knows your wounds, it knows your history, it knows the exact shape of your weakness. It fights dirty because it fights from within. But the spirit fights deeper. As the first light broke over the water, I felt something shift, not victory, not triumph, but alignment. A remembering, a returning, a quiet, stubborn refusal to bow to what once owned me. I whispered into the cold air, not by might, not by power, but by the breath that remade me. And the river carried the words like a vow. The day unfolded like a battlefield. Temptations came disguised as comfort. Old habits knocked on the door of my mind. Shadows tried to reclaim territory. I had surrendered to the light, but every time the flesh rose, the spirit rose high. Every time the old self reached for me, the new self answered with fire. By midday, I felt the weight of the war pressing hard. The flesh does not surrender easily. It fights like a cornered beast. It claws, it bargains, it promises relief if you just let it rule again. But I remembered the graves I crawled out of. I remembered the chains I broke by grace alone. I remembered the voice that called me by name when I was drowning in my own ruin. So I stood firm, even when my knees shook, even when my heart faltered, even when the war felt unwinnable. Because victory is not the absence of struggle, it is the refusal to bow. As the sun dipped low, painting the sky in bruised gold, I felt the spirit settle over me like a mantle. Not a reward, not a medal, but a reminder. You are not fighting for victory, you are fighting from it. The war of the flesh is tragic, yes, but it is also holy. It is the proving ground of the soul. It is where faith becomes more than words. It is where grace becomes more than doctrine. It is where a person becomes who they were meant to be. Night fell, the world quieted, and I returned home, weary but unbroken. The flesh had not won, the spirit had not left, and in that fragile, sacred balance, I found peace, not the peace of ease, but the peace of endurance. Before sleep claimed me,